Welcome to New Possibilities. I speak truth to power without fear. So, I read an article on Afropunk, and that article raised a question. Um, a black athlete asked this. He said, why do black athletes marry white women? And this was on social media, and someone going by the name of Maserati Rick responded this way. They said, most sisters were raised in broken homes and they do not have the proper guidance to treat a man, so they mess up a lot in relationships. A white woman knows her position and accepts her role as a woman and lets the man lead. Black women are not coachable. So I wanted to take time to respond to this. First of all, I think that this is based on a lot of generalizations and negative stereotypes about black women. You cannot categorize a whole race of people based on what some black women do or say. So that's the first thing. Second, there are plenty of black women who were raised in two-parent households. So that's another thing. So you have plenty of black women who were raised in two-parent households who understand about the role of a man and a woman. Second is this. Even if somebody is raised in a two-parent household, that doesn't necessarily mean that they were raised with a proper example of how relationships work. So that's another thing. And then, so this person is making all kinds of assumptions. Another thing is this. Like, even if somebody is raised in a single parent household, according to a lot of statistics, black men are still actively involved in their children's lives. They are still there to provide guidance for their children, to provide advice for their children, despite all these negative stereotypes that are put out here. There was a study done by um, the CDC, the Center for Disease Control, where they talked about how active black men are in their children's lives, how black men are more active than a lot of other races of people in their children's lives. So that negative stereotype needs to be killed. Because it's not true. So even in these situations where someone is raised in a single parent household, there's still a male presence involved. There's still a black man involved in their children's life often. That's the case more often than people would like to say. So even in those single parent household, you have an example for young men and women of how people should conduct themselves as men, how a man should conduct himself, and also how a man relates to a woman, even if he's not in a relationship with that woman. And even if there's the parents are separated and the child is raised in a single parent household, one of the parents may have got remarried or whatever, and then that child would have an example of how a relationship works. And even if someone didn't have those kind of role models, you know, like directly involved in their household, their community role models for how productive relationships work that they can use as models, that they may have been raised around for guidance. And even if someone wasn't raised in that kind of environment, they can still learn from others. They can learn what it means to be a man and woman by talking to mentors, by talking to people to provide them with guidance. So that's one thing. And just because somebody is raised in a two-parent household, that doesn't mean that they're necessarily going to be um, the right kind of spouse for somebody. And then, another thing is this. There's a double-edged sword to this whole characterization of black women being raised in single-parent households. First of all, if it's true that a black woman doesn't know how to be a woman in a relationship because, black people come from broken homes, then it can also be said that a lot of black men don't know how to be men, don't know how to take on a manly role if you go by that logic. You could say, well, a man doesn't know. Like, if he's raised in a broken home, he doesn't know how to be a real man. He doesn't know how to provide for a woman or to love a woman or how to treat a woman or how to conduct himself as a husband. as a father and all that kind of stuff. So it's a double-edged sword. So the same sword that this man is using to attack black women can be used against black men. And I think that that's something he fails to understand. So all of this is just stereotyping. There's a lot of generalizations, a lot of negative generalizations, and it's just, illogical. And really, that's not the reason why a lot of these guys are marrying white women. That's not the real reason. That's just an excuse. The real reason is because a lot of these black men have been indoctrinated to view the black woman as less than, and to view the white woman as the standard of beauty, to view the white woman as some kind of trophy, as some kind of symbol of accomplishment. A lot of these black men have been programmed and indoctrinated with the myth and the lie of white supremacy. That's the bottom line. It doesn't have anything to do with what the black woman is doing or not doing. It has nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with the programming and brainwashing of a lot of these Negroes. That's the bottom line. And that's what people don't want to accept. They don't want to accept the fact that they have been brainwashed to idolize another woman outside of their own woman. When you idolize somebody other than your own race of people, you have allowed yourself to become a psychological slave. And that's what a lot of these black entertainers have become. That's what a lot of these black athletes have become. They have become brainwashed slaves in that sunken place that movie Get Out talked about. And that's the truth that these people can't accept. I mean, we're all familiar with the test that was done years ago, back in the 50s, around the time when Brown versus the Board of Education was decided. They presented children with two dolls, a black doll and a white doll. And many of those children, when they were asked which doll was the beautiful doll, they reached for the white one. And the same thing happens today. That Negro athlete, that modern day buck, is reaching for that white doll, just like those children reach for the white doll when they choose that white woman.